Hi everybody, Ishani this side. You probably don't know me right now, but yeah, maybe in some time. Looking forward to that. Anyway, so I actually have decided to start a podcast, and obviously, the reason behind that is sometimes you have so many things to share and so many things to speak on, so many things that you really want to share with the world, and how you feel about them. And I have actually tried a hand at it before when I was in college. So I started something called Ish Talks while I was in college, but I really soon deleted that because, I was not really sure about it. I thought I was just blabbering around, and I honestly wasn't confident enough to go on with that, I think. Although I did receive, a good feedback from others who saw it and, who used to listen to that, but I just feel that I don't know. I just felt that it wasn't right at the time. Anyway, so I have been pondering over this idea of starting this podcast again. It wasn't a podcast really at that time, I think. Anyway, so yeah, I have been pondering over this idea, and I finally have decided to start with it. So I am not gonna really, make a podcast that's for like 30 minutes or 40 minutes and bore you with that, because I think you don't have a human doesn't have, attention span for such a long time. I even tend to, zone out so many times and I'm listening to a long podcast. So I think it's probably just gonna be a 10-minute episode, 10 minutes or 15 minutes episode at max for now. So, the topic for today that I decided to go on is actually, you might have heard it a lot. I think it is called to go with the flow or to not go with the flow. And the reason that I chose this was I actually found myself, thinking about this day before yesterday a lot at night at around 2 a.m. And I just felt that, throughout life, you are told, sometimes you're just told that, go with the flow and you should go with the flow and, let life happen and this and that. And the other times you're just told that do not go with the flow, make your own flow or go against the flow or anything like that. So, that actually sounds very motivational at the time, but, sometimes you find yourself stuck in a situation where you feel that should I go with the flow or should I go against the flow? Like, is this the time that I really should let life happen? Things happen and let universe decide what is best for me, or should I go out and figure out and what is actually best for me? So I'm 23 years old, first of all. So whatever I say here, it's not that, I have experienced my whole life and, now I'm just, telling you facts and this and that. No, I'm figuring out life just the way you are. I'm on the same stage as you are. But, there are things that you have experienced and, you may have an opinion on that and you may have an advice on that actually might happen, sorry, that actually might help even one of you out there. And even if it does, I'll be really, really grateful. And the purpose of this podcast will really be, fulfilled. So I think throughout the years, I actually came to this conclusion that it's it's about the situation. It's all relative, actually, to go with the flow or to not go with the flow. There have been times where I have been in really bad situations mentally, physically, and I did not know a way out. And what could I do in that situation? I tried my best to get out of them. I actually didn't know how to get out of them because I didn't see a path. I didn't know what to do at the time. So what could I do? But I was being so hard on myself to find a way out, to do something, like just not sit back and relax and, let things happen. I was pressurizing myself so much, to just get out of that, like do something, do anything, but get out of that, which actually built so much of pressure on my own self, and I stressed myself so much that it actually hampered my mental health even more, and when your mental health is hampered, it actually has a lot of effect on your physical health as well. And it is not actually easy to go through that. So, and there have been times where I actually was miserable a lot and I actually took a step. and I didn't have to think a lot about it. Just one thought popped in my head, and I took a step, and I got out of that situation. So what is the conclusion? Basically, the conclusion is, for me, I think, and for I don't know if you would relate to it or not, but I think that it is all relative, and it actually depends on the situation that you're in. Sometimes life is not in your hands. Sometimes you just cannot control your circumstances. You cannot control the situations happening around you. You cannot control your emotions. You cannot control the way you feel about it. So what can you do at the time? That is the time when I would say that just go with the flow. Because believe it or not, I think, and I feel, I have felt this, I have experienced this, that the universe does have your back. When I look back, at the miserable times that I had in my life, and I see how things aligned, how, all the dots connected, whatever happened at the time. Maybe I was asking for something so desperately, but I didn't get it at that time. But I actually got it at the time when I actually needed it. Because God knew better than me. God knew when to give that to me. And now I just feel that if I could have just relaxed in that situation, if I could have just relaxed in that time and not stressed myself so much, because things would have happened the same way even if I stressed or not. So sometimes you just actually have to give it up when you know that it is not in your control, the situation is not in your control. And although you try your best, it's just you cannot actually get out of it. You cannot actually find a way. So just don't stress upon it, because God has actually a plan for you, and that will actually come out, and you will feel the dots connecting at a later time. But the universe actually has a plan, and it's working out for you slowly and steadily. Everything is working out, everything is getting aligned. You just need to give it time. And yes, life is unfair, life is miserable. You are miserable at times, and you just feel like, why me? You keep asking, why me? But it's just that the stars are aligning for you. You are actually going to become the human that you're always supposed to be through these situations. If this will not happen, you will not become the human that you're supposed to be, right? While on the other hand, there are times when you are actually in a very miserable situation, but you can actually, I think you will actually, know, your heart will tell you, your gut will tell you what to do. And I have been through that. I have heard my gut telling me, even that was a decision that could have harmed, not in a physical way, but that actually did have an effect on others around me, not in a bad way, not in a very bad way, but for a very limited period of time. But it actually got me out of that miserable situation. And I took that step. I listened to my gut, I listened to my heart, and without even a second of thinking more about it, I just took that step. I got out of that situation. And that is how I went against the flow. Because my body, it gave me a solution. My heart, my mind, my gut, it gave me a solution. It provided me a solution, and I listened to it, and I went with it, and I went against the flow. I didn't let that miserable situation keep happening to me. I didn't let the circumstance just make me more sad, make me more miserable, make me more in pain. If I got a solution in my head, I took that and I went against the flow. I took myself out of that situation. I took myself out of that misery, and that is how I went against the flow. But it cannot happen every time. Sometimes you really need to give it time, because everything will actually fall in your path the way they were always supposed to be. No matter how much you try to hurry it, no matter how impatient you are, no matter how much you pray to God for it, it will always come in your life when it is supposed to. Right? So I'm not saying that this is a situation where you should go against the flow. This is a situation where you should go with the flow. It all depends on the situation, and your gut will tell you. Sometimes let universe do its magic. Sometime let God do his magic, and just leave it, just let it be, and just believe, have faith that yes, things will figure out. I will figure out my life. God is with me. I have faith that whatever has happened for a reason, and I have grown from it. And there's nothing that can actually, make me fail. I am not gonna give up, because things will align in my life. I will get out of the situation. I will be happy. I will do whatever I want to do. I will be, in situations that I wanted to be in, but only when the universe wants it to be. And sometimes you actually find yourself in misery. You know that there is a way that I can get out of it, and that is the time you do not go with the flow. You go against the flow. You take that decision and you get out of the situation. You get out of that misery, because God helps those who help themselves. So when you know a solution, when you know that there's one step, there's one decision that you can take which can help you get out of that, that pain. So you have to take that step, because God, how will God help you when he sees that you're not even willing to help yourself, right? So just do that, just take that step, and that is how you will go against the flow. So I think I've gone over time in my first podcast, over 10 minutes. But that is what I wanted to say. I don't know how much of that has sunk in you, but just try to think about it. Think about your past. Think about how things have aligned. Think about how you maybe have gone with the flow, gone against the flow of life, and just try to think about it. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. I hope this helped out. Toodles.